Hey folks, welcome back to another episode of Middle Class Rockstar. I'm your host, Andy Sito. My guest this week is Travis McNamara of Arthouse Consulting, and we are talking about all things Kickstarter. Okay, if you listened to last week's episode, it was also with Travis McNamara. This was actually one big conversation that I cut in half because we spent the first half of the conversation talking about his artist career and his new solo album and his band and those types of things. But Travis is an expert on Kickstarter. He's helped other artists raise over $1.1 million. He's just has a lot of, I think, outside the box knowledge about it. So we chatted about it. I did a successful Kickstarter last year as well. So we just kind of talked shop a little bit, and Travis has some great things to say. So this is the second half of last week's conversation, and I hope you enjoy. Let's jump right in. I do want to say really quick, if you like what you're hearing, give this podcast 5-star rating and review on Apple Podcasts, wherever you listen, subscription on YouTube, any of that stuff. And if you want to help out in a monetary way, I'm on Patreon at patreon.com/Andy Sito, SYDOW. All right, let's do the show. So you have this other world that you've been a part of, that where you help out with Kickstarter campaigns, and this seems like what is there to know about Kickstarter campaigns? You put it up there and people give you money, but that's not the case. It's difficult to run a good one, and there's certain tips about running a good one, and you're very good at it. You've run successful ones yourself. You ran a Kickstarter for roughly $37,000, another one for $56,000 for Trout Steak Revival. You've helped other artists raise over $1 million, over $1.1 million in their Kickstarter campaigns. And the average for artists that work with you is reaching 126% of their goal. And really quick, for people who might not know what Kickstarter is, probably most do, it's crowdfunding, and it's how musicians make records these days, really. You reach out to your audience and you say, hey, I need some help. And if you can pledge $20, I'll send you a CD or whatever, right? There's all these different layers. If you pledge $100, I'll, send a video to you and tell you how much I love you. Whatever. There's a lot of creative things that people use for their Kickstarter. But you've been very successful with Kickstarter, so much so that you've started a full-time business helping artists do it called Arthouse Consulting. So first off, one of the things you talked about in your panel that I loved was some of the unsuccessful campaigns that you were seeing friends do that inspired you to want to help out. Could you talk about that a little bit?
Yeah, totally. So I have kind of like a dual background in being a musician, but before I was a touring musician, I was in nonprofit fundraising for 6 years. I worked at PBS. I did major gift fundraising for them. I helped them raise $500,000 when I was there. And I was with the Denver Film Society before that, with the International Film Festival. So it's like fundraising for the arts was a big part of my life, kind of professionally, before I was touring full time. And like you said, I was learning about crowdfunding specifically through the lens of Trout Steak and us running campaigns for ourselves, and sort of just becoming a student of it and seeing like success for us, but specifically in this, it was like the bridging of these two worlds, of all these fundraising fundamentals and like donor psychology and what donors need to hear and feel in order to feel moved to make gifts and what they care about, and all this fundraising stuff, like brought over into Trout Steak land, and just all of these like natural assets that bands kind of have and build for themselves, and like this well of goodwill, that we feel like we're building all the time, just by making art and connecting with people and driving around and meeting people at the merch booth and stuff like that. And it's like, that's how we felt that we were going to be successful at this, because we felt that we had this like asset of people and goodwill and people that like believe in us and want us to succeed. Mm-hmm. And as I was learning about this and becoming a student of it, like looking around in my community, it was just like this wasteland of fundraising campaigns, and
Sure.
and it was like, and I think that this is actually most people's association with Kickstarter is like, it was these bands that they were like bigger than us. They were more powerful than us. I looked up to them as songwriters. They had huge followings, and these campaigns were terrible. It was like,
Yeah.
they were cringy and they were embarrassing and they were like harming their brand, and they were burning relationships, and they were like calling people out by name on social media. And I was just like, God, stop, and even worse than, well, another bad part of it is that they just weren't raising money. It was like a $20,000 campaign and they were raising $1,000, that they didn't even get to keep.
Right.
Because it's like do or die funding model.
Right.
And there was one in particular that it was like a friend band who will remain unnamed put up their Kickstarter campaign for $20,000, and I was like, oh great, these guys are doing it. Let's go check it out. And I clicked on the video, and it was like 4 seconds in that I was like, oh no, And then I looked at their reward tiers, and I was like, these guys aren't going to make it.
How did you know 4 seconds into the video that they weren't going to make it? What was the telltale thing?
For this one in particular, it's something that I warn bands against all the time. Please don't make a funny Kickstarter video. It is such a bad idea. And like you can tell by the approach right from the beginning that it's like, oh, not only are they going to do this, but this is going to be 3 minutes of this, and something that I mentioned at the panel was like, first of all, that's really hard to do. Comedy is difficult. We are musicians, but that's actually not the biggest point. The point is that you, as an artist and a fundraiser, you stand to raise a ton of money from your first circle of friends, the people that know you directly. And you stand to raise a ton of money from the second and third circles of your network. It's like your friends of friends and your friends of friends of friends. Mm. And like the thing that for sure does not translate to these second and third groups of people are these funny Kickstarter videos,
Sure.
It's just like the ironic, tongue-in-cheek. They are going to click off of that so fast because they have no context for you, and they don't have time for that. But like, heart communicates to those people, and like authenticity and belief and standing up for your art and the thing that you're doing and why this matters to you and what this means to your larger arc as an artist and what you're trying to do in this world. That stuff communicates. And that's
so that video is a big deal, is what you're saying.
I cannot de-emphasize it, or I cannot emphasize it enough. It's like it's one of the most powerful bullets in your fundraising gun. It's a little film.
Yeah. Wow. That's interesting. I didn't think about the funny thing, but another thing that, as I've watched some of my friends and I've done a Kickstarter campaign, that I think about is funny is default if you feel uncomfortable, I think, for a lot of people. And it's, I think it's okay to be, what's the word? To be vulnerable, right? It's okay to show vulnerability, but the humor, unless that's your thing, I could see, I'd never thought of that, but that's an interesting element. That's tough to execute that way.
Yeah, 100%, man. And like, this is why I have compassion for that band. I have compassion for every band that's ever done that. We don't know how to do this. We were never taught how to do this stuff. Like, I know how to do it because I did it professionally for 6 years.
It's awkward.
It's awkward. We're socialized a million ways every single day to like not ask, especially as artists, not ask for help. I'm going to do this all on my own steam. I wasn't raised to accept charity. Everybody is constantly asking me and accusing me that I'm not real, you know,
Right.
that I'm not actually doing this. And
Right.
all I do is prove that I am real. And I know musicians to be intelligent, multifaceted, multi-interested people who have learned this like raft of different skills to get anywhere in the music industry, because you have to. It's like time behind your instrument, time behind the songwriting desk, time behind technical learning about your freaking pedal boards and like gain stages and all this stuff that and like email marketing and how to run a merch booth and all this stuff that none of us signed up for when we were getting into making music, but we have learned because we've had to, you know?
Right. Of course.
That like, I know musicians to be smart people. And the reason that I knew that the reason that they weren't doing well at fundraising is not because they're stupid or because like something, it's because they don't know how yet. And like, I thought I was going to be a teacher for a while, and I'm a believer in like, when you know better, you do better.
Sure.
You know?
Sure. Absolutely. You know, I've had, I've seen a couple of friends' Kickstarters not be successful somewhat recently. And I think in these particular cases, it breaks my heart because they're phenomenal. And I know that their records are great. And I hate getting the email, so-and-so didn't reach their goal. You know, we're not going to take your money. But a couple of them recently, I felt like were almost because they were feeling timid and modest. And so they did all the legwork. There was actually a great video. There was great tears. But I can tell they really struggled with the ask. And I hate to see that. What advice do you have for someone in that scenario who's just nervous of has done all the work, didn't make a funny video, but is intimidated by the idea of the ask?
Dude, you're hitting an essential component. This is really where the rubber hits the road here.
Yeah.
That it begins much lower and deeper. Like, the thing that you're keying into is the correct thing. Outreach is key. Fundraising is outreach. Somebody said fundraising is a contact sport. You got to go out and make contact, you know?
Yeah.
And like, it is, Kickstarters are excuses to do direct fundraising outreach. The true train wrecks out there are the ones where you could tell that people are just going to like make a video or even work really hard on the video, but like they're going to make a video, they're going to put it up on the internet, and then they're just going to like back away from it.
Yeah. It's got to get seen, right?
It's got to get seen. You are the spokesperson. You are the salesperson. Like, our art is silent. We have to speak on behalf of our art. We are the advocates. And unfortunately, like, I really do think that this is an artistic struggle just because I feel it. It's like talking about my album. Fear of judgment, fear of being seen. This is something that plagues artists specifically. Like, there are so many friends that I have that are so talented and they've made these incredible albums, and it's like one Facebook post with 4 likes on it. It's like, hey, I made a thing, here it is. And no listens on Spotify. And it's like building this beautiful boat. And it's incredible. It's state of the art. It's like a work of craftsmanship. And then pushing it out into the harbor and then shooting a hole in the bottom of it and like sinking it in the harbor.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like there's us artists sometimes would rather do that. And I know that it's based in uncomfortability, it's based in fear, and it's totally understandable, and I get it. And the truth of the matter is the first stage is changing ourselves. It's understanding that we are light bringers, we are artists, we are making something that's positive. We are, when done correctly, we are setting a table that is positive, not only for us, but for our donors to come sit at and join us in a creative act and attach themselves to us as creators, and to get value, something that is cool, because the thing that we are doing is cool. And like top to bottom, all the donors that I've ever interacted with in any of these positions, they all want the same thing: connection.
Yeah.
And it's one of the reasons that I'm serving the population with Arthouse that I am, my community, independent bands, is because I know that bands can deliver connection to these donors better than the frickin' symphony can, or than SCFD, or the zoo, or like the ballet, or any of these huge arts organizations. They're too fat, they're too big. We are like nimble. We can deliver on a level that none of them can. And we can like actually deliver this value to people, which is what we want to do anyways. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah.
So it begins lower in ourselves, to steal from Cramo on Queer Eye when he's talking about therapy, that he says it's an inside job. This is fundraising too, is an inside job. It's like we have to get cool with speaking out on behalf of our art. We are the Lorax. We speak for the trees. And then like understanding and learning about good fundraising and what that outreach does, but most essentially understanding that the job of a fundraiser during an active campaign is outreach. There's no two buts about it.
Wow. Now, if I guess a couple other things. One thing you mentioned when I heard you speak the other week was having a separate domain for your Kickstarter. I did not do that on my Kickstarter campaign that I was running a year ago, actually. Could that be as simple as andysitto.com? Because I already own that, andysitto.com/Kickstarter, and you go to that website, and then there's just a link for the Kickstarter. You click on it, and you're there.
I think even easier than that. Like as with so much in this internet world, it feels like the name of the game is decreasing friction. And like a less friction-y way is to spend $15 on GoDaddy and to buy a domain name that is specific for this. Usually it incorporates like a verb, like helpandysitto.com. And linking that directly to your Kickstarter campaign page.
So when people click on it, it goes directly to your Kickstarter.
Yeah, and like, I stole this hook, line, and sinker from Ryan Ostrike at the Denver Film Society. Hi, Ryan. Thank you again. I told him that I would credit him by name every time that I use this. At the Denver Film Society, they were raising money for film projectors. They needed digital film projectors, 4 of them, because there was this change in the industry where they weren't going to be able to show movies anymore if they didn't have digital projectors, and they were like $40K a piece. And they ended up raising $175,000, and I took him out for lunch, and I was like, how did you guys do that? And he told me a ton of stuff, and he was super generous. But one of the things that he told me, he was like, I think one of the smartest things that we did was a $15 investment. We bought helpdenverfilm.com and pointed it over to the Kickstarter campaign. And it's less, actually, Andy, one of the things that you were saying, it's less about them like clicking on that. And it's more that is marketable. You know, it's sayable. It is write downable on a bar napkin. It is like, it brings it into the real world in a way where if you're having a conversation with somebody and they're like, I love your band, let me know if there's any way that like I can help you guys. And you're like, actually, you know what? We're running a Kickstarter campaign right now for our next album for $36,000. And they're like, oh, great. How can I help?
Helptravis.com.
That's way easier for them to go there, you know?
Yeah, yeah. Now, one thing, as I was mentioning to you earlier, I'm very grateful for everyone who contributed to my Kickstarter. It was successful. It raised, I think, $15,500.
Nice.
I
Congrats.
was scared to death, thank you, of doing one. I hated the idea of asking all the things. There's a reason I didn't do one 10 years ago. But I really needed to on this record I put out last year in order to give it what I thought it deserved. And I set the goal at $15,000. Mm-hmm. I had friends saying, yeah, we're gonna kick into that. We're gonna put a couple $100 into it, whatever. But they were watching it. They were watching it get closer. Yeah. I got over the $15,000, and I had a couple friends reach out and they said, "Oh, you made it." A couple of friends who said they were going to donate said, "Oh, you made it. You're good." Now, I did make it. I got what I needed on it, and I am beyond grateful because with Kickstarter, if you don't raise your goal, you don't get any of it. That's the kicker with Kickstarter. But I set a goal that I thought that I could reach. In truth, was there more that I could have done with more money? Did I still spend a lot of money out of my own pocket? Yeah, I spent a lot of money out of my own pocket. I really did. I just thought, hey, this is an amount that's achievable to get some help with. So when I got to that 15,000, I remember thinking, oh, I maybe could have set this at 17 or 18 or 20. How do you avoid that end of it? Where do you know where to set the bar? And if you do go over your goal, how do you keep people excited about the campaign?
Yeah, great. Both great questions. And there's multi answers here. So the first is fundraise from a budget. You should know where all this money is going.
Yeah.
You should be able to speak for the location of every dollar that comes in, because that's an important thing for your donors to hear and know that you know that. Mm-hmm. I guess let's start big. I think that artists should be funded to the degree that they have needs. Like, if a record costs $27,320 and I know where every single dollar of that is going, because it's going to Gold Rush down in Austin, Texas, excellent vinyl company, female owned, and that's like $4,010, to do a printing of 250 of those. And there's the incomparable Zandy Witzel. It was my mixing engineer, and he was doing it for X amount of dollars per hour. And we did that all together, and it was this amount of time. And so it's going to be this amount of money. And like, I used the excellent Glenn Schick for a mastering engineer, and he was this much at a flat rate. like being able to know what each of those things are and speak to them not only makes me a better fundraiser because I know what I'm raising money for, but it helps the donor see that these are all necessary costs. And it's like, oh, well, I guess you probably can't make a record without a mastering engineer or without a, small business that prints vinyl.
Right.
So like, if it costs that much, if it costs $27,000, I think it is fine, first of all, to try to raise that amount of money, given that you have the resources to do it in terms of your reach. But like, that's how much it costs to make these things. And if there's people out there that love us and want us to succeed, which there are tons of.
That's your mantra.
That's my mantra. That's the Arthouse motto. There are people that love you and want you to succeed.
Yeah.
Because it's true. And these people out there, like, they want more Andy Sito music. And if they see that it costs that much and you could say, this is where all the money is going, that's the price, So in some degree, I want artists to be able to be paid, or to be able to raise the amount of money of what these things cost and to not have to pay out of pocket. Covenhoven, one of my buddies here in Denver, Joel Van Horn, another play it yourselfer.
Love Joel. Yeah.
He's awesome.
I was yourselfer. I love that.
I was doing a songwriter night with him around here, and he had just run another successful Kickstarter campaign, his like fifth, for 5 records, or his 5th record. And I hope I'm not speaking out of school here. I don't think that he would mind if I mention this, but I was like, dude, congratulations, that's another win. And he was like, thanks, man. And I was like, so do you run a Kickstarter campaign for every one of your records, huh? And he looked at me and he goes, I'm not going into debt for these records.
Yeah.
And I was like, what a healthy, boundaried approach,
Yeah, sure. Sure.
He's like, if people want it, they'll fund it and then I'll make it. And I'm like, yeah, like the idea that we are all supposed to just like go into $20,000 of debt for every one of these things that we make, with less and less chance for us to make that money back.
And promote every single song as a single.
It all takes money. And I do believe that like there are people that love you and want you to succeed. They don't just want you to make a record. They want you to succeed with this. So it's like promoting it, making ads for it, all this stuff that we're talking about that like helps people succeed these days. That is all legit to fundraise for. I'm giving you a very wandering answer on this one. I apologize.
Yeah. No, that's good.
So in general, principally, I think bands should try to raise what they need. Part of my job is convincing people that they can raise more money than they think that they can. The vast majority of people that I see out there are not setting high enough goals. For the reason that you said, man, it's like, these are so much work. These are huge asks to your entire network. If you are running a Kickstarter campaign for like $7,000, $8,000, you're going to eat. If you have a successful campaign, Kickstarter and the payment processor, Kickstarter takes 5%, payment processor takes 3%. So that's 8% out of that. And then probably didn't raise any money for shipping and handling of sending out all of your rewards. So then you're going to eat a quarter of that, sending everything out. And then you just took your one shot with your entire network of running a Kickstarter campaign for like $4,000. And this costs over $20,000. It's like, that's not worth it.
Yep.
And that's like, that going back to why I began this, I got tired of watching bands waste this chance, and like waste this resource, this valuable resource of their audience and this goodwill that we just like labor over, and like the brand stuff, like that is so hard to get back, and we work so hard on it that it's like protecting that at all costs it's necessary.
Something that you touched on just then that I didn't realize until the first donation came in for my Kickstarter was that when you say, hey, signed vinyl is going to be $50, right? Pledge $50, you'll get a vinyl. And then you also charge them $7 shipping so that you can ship it. That person pledged $57 towards your Kickstarter, not $50. So it helps you reach your goal a little quicker, and you can kind of account for that shipping. But when you're talking about, say, a $10,000 goal, all that shipping money is part of that $10,000 goal. That's just something that I should have known before pressing go on my first Kickstarter and didn't.
Yeah, again, dude, I have nothing but compassion for you. It's like there's a mountain of things that you don't know getting into this thing, and that you are learning like in real time as it goes down. And yeah, to me, these are great chances to get as bird's eye view as one can about what all the costs associated with not only making this record, but helping it succeed out in the world could be, and fundraising for all of that.
How do you take care of the people during the fundraiser? How do you take care of them that have pledged? Even if you might not be sending out your rewards for 6 months, what do you do? I mean, if someone that you didn't think was going to donate any money gives $1,000, is the thanking process awkward? I mean, what do you do in that sort of a situation?
The thanking process is awesome and should be loved and appreciated. It is like when we are marketing our campaigns, the thing that we are doing with like all these social media posts and all these like emails that are going out, the thing that we are doing is we're extending our hand to this person and saying, come have a relationship with me. Come have a relationship with me. Come have a relationship with me. And when somebody clicks on our link, watches our Kickstarter video, goes to our page, looks through our rewards, selects a reward, puts in their credit card information, and gives $1,000 in this case, the thing that they are doing, and they press pledge, the thing that they are doing is they are then extending their hand back to us. And they're saying, okay, I'll have a relationship with you too.
Yeah. That's what we want as artists, right? That's what we want.
Yeah. But this is like essential, this question that you're asking right now.
Yeah.
It is our job then to grasp their hand.
Yeah.
And to say, oh my God, John, thank you so much for your $100,000 gift. That is incredibly generous. That makes such a huge difference to us. We'll be in touch after the campaign ends, yada, yada, yada.
Yeah.
But like it is the beginning of the relationship process, is thanking the donors, and giving experience is a huge thing to think about. And like, what is this like for my donor on the other side? Like this thing that we are entering. It's another reason of why I love this work, is this is like human relationship work. This is real fan work.
Yeah.
And musicians are good at it naturally because it's what we do at the merch booth. It's like I feel like we got into this because we're trying to have some real connections out there in the world. It's one of the main benefits. And like, it is a great time to lean into the human aspect. Is like, right. After somebody gives you a gift, it doesn't change the relationship in some like gross way that people think that it does. It deepens it in a beautiful way if it is treated correctly.
The last question I want to ask you is, I know if people are looking to raise 25,000 or more, they can potentially work with you at Arthouse Consulting, and there's information in the show notes for bands that are interested in that. And I think you have another criteria too. I think you do just bands, right, of 3 people or more. Is that right?
Yeah, the folks that I can help, they're like, it's because it's where I come from. I am here to help mid-career, hardworking, touring bands. Yeah. So it's like 3 or more members in the band. You have like more than 3,000 or 4,000 likes on Instagram. You are, touring. You've been doing this for some years. You've made a couple records. And for me, all of these are just proxies for like, have you created your crowd? Because if you have, I can help you not squander that crowd.
Right.
Like below that, I have a ton of love for, solo musicians and younger bands. It's just growing your crowd is like it's the billion stage process that this podcast explores of like, how do you become a middle class rock star?
Right. Well, so my question is for those of us who aren't at a stage where we might come work with you or are a solo singer songwriter, is there any resources you'd recommend to somebody before jumping into a Kickstarter, even if they're only trying to raise $10,000 or whatever it is? What direction would you point them in to have the best chance to succeed?
Yes. Well, I'm a one-man operation here. I'm trying to create something that can serve more of these folks because I run into them every day now. And I know how much support is needed out there. So stay tuned on that. Helpful tips that I can like point you in good directions. Number one, playing. It's almost like, what would you redo for your career? Like in terms of live shows, nothing. Go play live. It's the best way to like get in front of people, get people connected to you personally. Start collecting email lists. Like I can confess to not really knowing like, what am I going to do with this email list? But like, this is an actual thing that you can do with it. Is like you're collecting a group of people who you can market directly to. A lot of times having a Kickstarter in your mind is like a good directional arrow of like that answers some of these questions. Why am I making these reels on Instagram? Like, why am I collecting an email list? What is the purpose of some of these things? Like, why am I creating a crowd? That thinking about them as a group that you could be fundraising from in the future, in terms of a Kickstarter campaign. Sometimes that's just like a helpful longitudinal mindset. Those things are helpful. I've been pointing a lot of folks that ask just about ways to grow one's following on Instagram. Zach Fishman over at Magic Nothing, I think, is doing awesome stuff, and he's like at magic_nothing. I've been learning a bunch from him. I actually met him recently he responded to one of my ads, and we just like started hanging out and talking. He's got great stuff. Yeah, I think generally it's about like maybe just some of these things that I've mentioned on here so far. Like there is another path to fundraising. It doesn't have to be cringy. It doesn't have to be salesy. It can be rooted in your artistry, in your authenticity, in your belief in yourself, in your belief in your community, and that they can and will join you in this effort. And almost cultivating a new openness towards crowdfunding as an option. Because like we toured hard for, 10 years. And we sought label support multiple times and we never got it. And I'm kind of like happy that we didn't, because we own all of our stuff and we own all of our masters and royalties and everything. And I think sometimes label deals are not so friendly. But like there's a ton of bands that are out there that I know are like hardworking bands, and they don't have access to the capital that they need. And to me, like looking at crowdfunding as a way that can be positive, creative, connecting to you and your audience, like empowering in a way that we've not been able to empower ourselves before. Like a bunch of the bands that I've helped so far, we've helped 30 bands raise $1.1 million, 100% success rate. And like in checking in with these bands after working with them, like this is all anecdotal, but they're like, we feel like we have a better bargaining position with promoters now, where we can be like, yo, we raised $27,000 over a $26,000 goal. That's X percentage over the goal. There's like 510 people that supported us on this campaign. Like that actually means something materially out there in the world to festival buyers, to venue owners, where like you kind of get a chance to raise your own stock price, and that having some like hard data around that is good. And like I've just kind of seen them in like slightly higher font, bigger font in like festival posters. And like sometimes I'm seeing them on larger, like opening for larger bands, where it's like being able to view running a successful and well done crowdfunding campaign as something that can really build your band in a way that you've never been able to before.
Thanks so much for sharing. First off, sorry to keep you late. But
it's all good.
Thanks a ton for sharing your time and knowledge and your story with the middle class rock star folks. If you don't mind, stay on the line with me for just a second. But just in front of our audience, I want to say thank you.
100%. Thanks for having me. This has been awesome. It was great to connect with you.
That was my conversation with Travis McNamara of Arthouse Consulting about crowdfunding and Kickstarter. I hope you enjoyed that, and I hope to chat with you next week. If you want to chat with Travis some more, I've got his website linked in the show notes, and you can feel free to reach out to him there. Thanks for listening. I'll talk to you next week.